Cool. Wired. Hi. So wait, how many, who's not an alum? Okay. What do you guys all do? Oh, you're in the program now. Okay. So how many non-Sofaer students? And then take out professors, teachers, former staff? Featured guest? Brett. Okay. Cool, cool. Okay. So I chose this as my opening, I'm Jordan, because I thought that when I was thinking about Sofaer, it just struck me that like we're all from all over the world and different stages of life, totally different industries, different experiences, but I think we share, so we're different, but we also share a lot of things in common. Passion for, love for Israel, like passion for obviously and a gratitude for the program, a sense that Tel Aviv, Israel and really Tel Aviv, since it's the heart of all things tech and innovation, but it's playing a really important role in the future of our economy, as Leslie talked about. And so we have all this as sort of the common denominator that I think Sofaer program really does a great job of bringing people together around that and that share that belief. So I'm the tall dog, the big dog, and someone else can be the small one. Okay, so context matters. So I want to introduce myself a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about who I was coming to Sofaer. I know we all have our own stories, how we ended up here, what I've done a little bit afterwards, and hopefully share some ideas, thoughts I have about Sofaer and future opportunities, I think, for the program. Sound good?
Yeah.
It's the only presentation I kind of prepared, so you're stuck with it, so glad you say yes. But okay, so I played basketball. I came to Israel because after college, this is Hapoel Jerusalem. I don't know if there's any Jerusalem fans. Oh.
No.
Not anymore? Yeah? One? Two? Okay. So we were a better team than Maccabi Tel Aviv, just so you know. Anyway, I came after college to Israel to play basketball. It's not the traditional path. While I was here, so I made Aliyah, and I'll skip the details, and I was playing basketball here, and I was looking at things for new Olei Hadash, new Alim, to do that were in English. And I found out that the very next year, this program was launching. So that's 2009 to 2010. And launching in English for the very first time. So for me, it was an opportunity I could get an MBA in 1 year, not two, in English, live in Tel Aviv instead of Jerusalem, and play basketball for a team here, could pay my way through. So the very first year that program launched, I was maybe the youngest student. I had only 1 year of work experience, which was playing basketball. So I was on the fringe. I'm not sure how I got in, but thank you. GMAT. I studied for the GMAT while practicing basketball and traveling trips. But I remember feeling, and some of my classmates around and down out here, I remember feeling very much like I was the least prepared person in the whole program, the youngest, no professional experience. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. But I went in, the point is I went into Sofaer very fresh, like no context at all. Undergrad, I studied, I was liberal arts, so like government, philosophy, and history. Mainly I played basketball. I didn't even know that very well. So it was very, very fresh. Okay. So this was our class, some of the members of our class. Pretty similar, I think, to what it is now. 30 or 35 students we were?
55.
We were 55? But now it's 32.
The staff was different.
Wow. So our standards, I hope, have gone up. Not interest having gone down. Okay. All right, cool. So I think there was a sense, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was a sense in the first year that, because it was this is both, by the way, the 10-year anniversary of Sofaer, but it's also our 10-year reunion for our class. Okay? And so I feel at least, a great amount of kind of pride and almost like I was a founding member in a way, even though I was a student. But I think that was shared, if you guys would agree, that we were kind of founding members of this thing, this Sofaer thing. And the program needed us to be successful so that people like you would be like, oh, you could actually get a job after the program, whatever. And we needed the program to be successful because otherwise our degree would be worth nothing. We weren't going to an established program. So there was a joint sense of like, we needed you guys to make it work and you needed us to make it work. And so we all found kind of like we were founders of this program. So I say that in that I'm really excited that the program has made it 10 years, is doing well, excited for what the next 10 years will bring. And the biggest thing that I learned in business school was, and I don't say this from a sense of false modesty or something, like I was not only not prepared, I was one of the worst students in the class. No. Yes? No? No. I didn't finish near the top. I couldn't have. Maybe this is a serious curve, but so, you know, the first semester, it's still not right. Finance, accounting, blah, blah. Stats, organizational behavior. Okay, so the hardcore course is like, I realized while I was in school, I was not going to be the financial person in a company. I wasn't going to be the stats person. I wasn't going to be the accountant. I wasn't going to be a technical marketer. I couldn't code. I wasn't going to be an engineer. So I remember thinking, like, okay, if I don't play basketball forever after this, like, what am I going to do? What role could I play in a company? And I really do credit this to Sofaer. I learned that I would have to start a company, be the founder and CEO, because I didn't know what other role I could do in the company. And so I had the idea, like, this is literally these ideas, like, I could start a company and I could hire, like, my friends from Sofaer to do the different roles. And that idea, which originated there, is still something I think about now. And I'll talk about, I did 2 startups, I'll talk about that, but the role of the CEO in a startup is really to have a vision, to protect that vision, because it's hard. And you hire a team, a great team, and motivate them around the mission, the vision, and then make sure you never run out of money and keep paying them. And so none of those things you actually have to really know how to do any of the aspects in a startup. You just have to protect the vision, have great people, and make sure that you don't run out of money. So that's what I've done over the last 10 years. Okay, so the first, and I'll talk about this because hopefully startups are interesting, it's innovation, whatever. And I'll maybe share a couple things that I learned from the 2 startups I've done, and then we can talk later. No time for Q&A after, I think. But you can come talk to me or whatever. So the first company was CoachUp. I broke my foot playing basketball the second year while I was in business school here, which was a big blessing. So I think one blessing is I realized I wasn't going to be able to get a great job probably out of school. The second was breaking my foot because it forced me to go back to the US and start a company. Otherwise, I'd probably still be playing basketball here. This is fun. So my big idea, and maybe think about, for those of you who are interested in starting companies, how many? Yeah. So think about, my experience doesn't matter, just think as I talk maybe about your own. I think most of the opportunity for startups is created when you have a direct experience, personal experience, or in a certain industry, and you have some life experience, or you have some different view of that industry, of that thing. For me, I had played basketball, so pay attention to that in your own life, because I played basketball. I had a coach who helped me train to get better, to play in college, to play pro. I then started coaching other kids in basketball, because it's a way to make money. And I realized there are millions of former college and pro athletes who, they stopped playing at some point. They have the skill, they know their sport, soccer, basketball, whatever. But they don't know how to create a website and market their service and find clients and manage their business. So this idea was, what if there was a marketplace for coaching and sports that could take advantage of this big body of former athletes to give them part-time jobs? This was not a unique idea. There are other industries for nannies, for taxis, for housing that were popping up. There's marketplaces for a lot of things, but there wasn't for coaching. So it was taking the idea of something else, a marketplace, and applying it to a new industry in a new way. I didn't have to invent what a marketplace was. I didn't use any different tech stack or anything that other people weren't using. It was just a shift in a different industry and a couple of differences. Long story short, the hardest part about starting my first company was getting a technical co-founder. Is anyone here technical? Valuable. So it's a really hard pitch. So you want to go start a company. So I went around, I was in Boston. After here, I went back to Boston. And I would go meet with these engineers, and I would say, come be my technical co-founder. And so the pitch was, leave your 6-figure job to come do a startup that's not your idea for no money. That's the pitch, right? That's really what the pitch is. And by the way, I've never done this before, and I don't know what I'm doing. Right? That's what it is to be a first-time non-technical founder. That took me 6 months. Question?
Why don't you just hire somebody from India or China.
I had no money.
It's very cheap.
Oh, to outsource and to pay?
Like $1,000 for your app.
I personally believe there's no substitute for having a real team, a real partner, technical partner when you're building a technical website, an app, software. And to have that person sitting next to you, iterating, and you're trying to build a culture and a company and you got to hire an engineering team. This is a subject there are people who are big on outsourcing and you save money, it's true. I've done 2 startups, one in Boston, one in New York. We pay a lot of money for engineers. But there's no substitute to being able to yell at them, like from close. But yeah, you have a fair point. But anyway, I knew that I wanted to build a kind of company where I had a real partner. And I think most investors want to invest in teams where you have a true technical co-founder that's there, that's present, in my experience. So anyways, that's what I did. I've ended up, long story short, finding a technical co-founder. I then raised $50,000. I hired my second engineer, our lead engineer. Anyone want to guess his salary? $50,000. So we then launched a terrible website with 100 coaches. And I started, the kids that I was coaching personally, I put them on the platform. So immediately we had a little bit of a team. We had a terrible website. We had a couple customers, a little bit of revenue. So I'd be working on the business. I'd be coaching kids on the weekend to drive our week-over-week revenue growth. And then we raised another $60,000. We hired another person. And onwards and onwards. Every couple months, I would raise more money. I would hire more people. We'd make more progress. Raise more money. I don't know that I was so thoughtful about it. It was a sense that I had that I needed to de-risk the business. So with each little bit of money I raised, it was 50, and then 60, and then 300, and then 2.7 million. We ended up raising 14 million for this business. It was always trying to get to the next milestone. So what are the specific challenges, and how can I prove that we're showing momentum on those KPIs, right? So okay, so that was the first business. I'll fast forward because I don't have a ton of time. We haven't sold that business yet. It's profitable, still in Boston. I'm still on the board, but not running it. I left there to do my second business. Partner with Steph Curry, who's a basketball player. He's my partner in CoachUp, basically company, which was cool. Talk about celebrity endorsement. But all those things come later. The hardest part was building the initial team. Everything is hard. Fundraising is hard. Everything's hard. But really the hardest part is getting that core team together and just keep on going. The second business, I left there to do a company called Draft.com. It's a fantasy. Anyone play fantasy sports? Fantasy sports? DraftKings, FanDuel?
No.
Draft? Yahoo, ESPN?
Yeah, draft.
Season long.
Okay.
Okay.
Draft.
Oh, you know it?
Yes.
Okay. This was interesting. So Jeremy's my best friend. We played Little League baseball together. He had raised a couple $1 million and had pivoted and was dying. And we had this idea to do the app that we always wanted to build as kids. And since we only had a little bit of money left, at the time, I decided to move from Boston to New York, try to raise a little more money, and go all in at this one idea we had, and we spent every dollar we had on it, and it was either going to work or not within a 4-week period. We went all in. So much so, we were sleeping in the office, in an apartment in New York City, and it was a very, very stressful time. But long story short, we raised a couple $1 million. We pivoted the business to what it is today, and we threw all our marketing into the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. It was one of these moments where you either have to make it or you're going to die. And it was stressful because we had 10 employees, ourselves included, so 8 other people, and we had 3 weeks of runway. And we put a week of our runway into marketing, so then we had 2 weeks of runway. And so people were worried, I don't have a job, I can't afford my apartment in New York. I mean, we were really on the... And we hit it. The early data was great. We raised a little bit of money, gave us another year. And then we went out to raise a $10 million Series A. And we drove up and down Sand Hill Road. I'm fast forwarding through the story. And decided that actually would be a really good time to sell the company, to run a parallel process. There was a lot of momentum in our market because sports betting had just been legalized in America, or decriminalized, I should say. And all the European operators were trying to get into the US. At the time, there was only 3 companies they could buy, basically. FanDuel and DraftKings, anyone heard of them? Cool. So one had raised like almost $1 billion, the other ones had raised 450, and they were us. We were third in the market. We owned 1.5% market share. There's 3 that made up 100%. But we'd only raised $6 million. So they were able to acquire us at a number that worked. Anyway, we sold the business for $48 million, which was great because there was 10 of us and we hadn't raised that much. And then I stayed for earnout and whatever, and then I left earlier this year to do my next thing, which was an accelerator in which we invest in early stage companies. So I invest in 10 companies a year and bring them to the US, spend 3 months with me, and we try to help them go from sort of C to A stage. So try to navigate a lot of the things that was hard for me as a first-time founder with CoachUp, and second time with Draft, still hard, around fundraising, building a team, product market fit, all these things. I've also been an angel investor. I'm in over 50 startups as an angel and advisor. And so I mention all this because this is my story, but background context on starting a company, investing in companies. And I think the things that you learn here at Sofaer, hopefully you get inspired to do a startup and not just join a big company. Either joining a startup or starting your own. Pay attention to your classes, as courses are. Turns out to be kind of relevant, and some things I wish I knew better. But you don't have to be there's no rules with startups. It doesn't matter what your grades were. It doesn't matter what you've done before. What matters is your business, your unit economics, quality of your product. And for all that, what you really have to be good at doing is just bringing people together who are talented, who do different roles in the company, and just being really passionate and really try to motivate those people and keep them accountable. And that's so much more important than anything you're specifically learning. And so to pay attention to ideas that you have, that you might have unique window into, that I wouldn't. We all have different experiences. Write down those ideas. Write down people you'd love to hire at your company someday or partner with. I literally keep a list of ideas and people. And I'm always thinking about trying to put people with capital, with an idea together in some form or another. And that spark can create a really successful company. So I want to say a couple things. So based on this, I've been thinking about Sofaer as a startup. And so I think we've done a good job of, we selected a name, the Sofaer. Maybe it was given to us, right? So we did that.
That was really hard.
We picked a product to import, us, right? The market is Tel Aviv, and a really attractive market, especially for innovation and tech, yeah? Sources, so we have channels to bring in customers. We priced it. We've raised our pricing, which is good. So it's good. We found customers, us. We brought people to Tel Aviv, and we're providing hopefully good education and all that, right? So I think, it's the way I think about everything is startups. This is very much a startup. 10 years in a startup is a long time. It's kind of the age at which you're either trying to sell or go public. I think we're hopefully in that place where we kind of know who we are, but we also still have a lot of room to grow. The opportunity I see just from an outsider-ish high level for Sofaer, and I would love to talk to you guys about this. It's just, this is such a hub, right? There's over 6,000 startups in Israel, 75 VC funds. 50% of that or more is here in Tel Aviv. This is such a hub. Second most companies on the NASDAQ in Israel, around the world after China. Crazy. Like per capita the best. We all know this, right? So over here. I remember feeling like when I came to Sofaer, I was hoping to get an education and get a job. But we all, I think the vast majority, 2/3 or so of the student class, maybe more, are from outside of Israel coming in.
Much more.
There's so many companies here, and they all need to sell somewhere else. The market is US, Europe, Asia. It's not here. So if I'm coming from Boston or someone else is coming, we had one in our class, Dave from Ireland and Yossi from Kenya and Nomo from South Africa, people all over, right? To come here and not only get a good education and meet each other, but also to get exposed to the startups that are here, which are very deep tech oriented, and then to bring them, hopefully, back to your market where you're coming from. If we could kind of make this a big part of our pitch, I think that would be a really strong selling point. If you leave here and you don't have an idea for your own company, we're going to connect you with a startup in Tel Aviv, and you can be a GM or the head of sales or whatever, bring that company to the region that you're from. I think that's a unique pitch that only we can make. In a time when MBAs are declining, I mentioned at dinner the other night, I read that the last 5 years, it's been declining MBA enrollment in the United States every year. 2-year MBA especially affected. So we're in the right city, we've got 1 year, we're bringing people from around the world, it's all great, and I think we could really have an opportunity to continue take advantage of the startups that are here and the tech that is here. And you've already mentioned it, Leslie, but I'm sorry that Simon's not here. I'd like for all of us to think about this program as a startup still very much, the way that he did. And I'm excited to see where the next 10 years will take us. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.